I'll post the answer key as well to Teams. So, welcome, my algebros. No?
Keep doing it, sir.
Okay, all right. That's not the good intro that we want?
It's a good one, sir.
Okay. Algebra, no. We're in algebra, no. Okay. All right. So we're recording right now. The first page here is strictly just getting us to kind of walk through a couple of basic sort of skills. The first guy here is in standard form, so he's nice and pretty in y equals mx plus b form. And all it's asking me to do is do two separate pieces. So for A, find x when y is 4. So find x when y is 4. So that's all I've done. I've plugged in y is 4, and then I'm just going to rearrange and solve for it. So -1 is equal to 3x, and then I'm going to divide by 3. I'll just go back and just show that a little bit slower. Right? I brought the 5 over to the other side, right, by subtracting 5 from other side. That's why I'm left with -1. Now I'm going to be dividing by 3 on either side. X is either -0.333 repeating or -1/3. I'm okay with both. Ugly number to start out, with the rest gets pretty. So for B, I'm going to have y equals mx plus b. It's saying find y when x is -3. So using the same rule from up top, I'm literally just plugging in that guy. And that's it. So 3 times, I'm just doing bed math now, 3 times -3, y is equal to -9 plus 5, y is equal to -4. So that's all that guy is there. The other format is still a rule, right? This is still a rule, but it's just not in the pretty format. Okay, let me just zoom in a bit there. Make that easier. Okay.
I got y equals 0.6x. I got y equals -4.
Okay, we're not. This isn't kindergarten class. This is not sharing time. I'm recording this. I'm going through it. If I wanted everyone's answers, I would have asked for it. If you want to do story time. So, on 2 or 1? And what did you get?
Y equals 0.6x.
So yeah, you'd never be getting y is equal to 0.6x. You're going to be putting in a value for x to solve for a value of y. So the same thing on this guy here. What is y when x is -12? I still start with this rule. So if I put a down, I still start with this rule. 8y is equal to 80. And I'm going to put in -12, right, where the x is. So all I'm doing is, what do you notice now? There's only a y value. Like on all of these guys here, after the first step, right, there's just an x. So one variable. There's just a y. So one variable that is unknown. In this case here, just a y. So that's the one that's unknown in that case there. So now it's just a matter of like multiplying this stuff together and knowing what to do with it. Okay? So only thing tough about a question like this is when you have to start to deal with the negatives, right? So -48 plus 8y is equal to 80. My goal is to get to this y right here, and my goal is to get to him all by himself. Okay? So from there, just going to add this guy over here. So it'd be just like I'm adding 48. Adding 48 to both sides. So 8y will be equal to 128. Okay? And then now we're going to divide by 8, divide by 8. So whatever that is.
So are you sure it equals 128?
80 plus 48 should be 128 because 80 plus 40 would be 120, and then 8 plus 120. Yeah? Yep. Thank you. I did that too quick.
I was going to say, sir, how did I get this right?
Yeah, how'd you get it right if I did it that way? So -72, so that's going to change it to +152. So then Thank you.
I was confused. I got 152.
Okay, 152 divided by 8. 152 divided by 8. So then y is equal to 19. So this guy here I almost find easier if you actually do the basic math right. Mainly just because it's like the same approach, whether you're solving for x or solving for y. Whereas this guy here is a little bit more difficult because solving for x, we're moving things around, dividing. Solving for y, we just kind of execute BEDMAS. So two different ways to approach it, easy to make a mistake on it. So for the second part of this guy, really the same procedure, right? 6x, same rule, 6x plus 8y is equal to 80. And then 6x plus 8 times 4 is equal to 80. Exactly.
You got it.
So then 6x is equal to, that'd be 50, 48. So then
Divide by 6.
6. So x is equal to 8. So that's all that guy is in a nutshell. This has to become second nature to be able to take a rule and plug in a known coordinate to find its partner coordinate for a point. Like, so we have, it's actually probably the biggest confusion with all this. Maybe I'll draw it on here while I have this thing up and I'll erase it. Really, I'm going to call that a point, right? Right. So if this is a point, I have a point when I have both values, like 1 and 2, right? Collectively, what that's saying is when x is 1, the y is 2 for a certain rule, right? So if I'm given a rule, and that's what these guys are here, right? This guy's a rule. This guy's a rule right here as well.
Confused how I went completely wrong on one of them, but then I got 4 on the other.
I know, but hey, it works. It's because, see how this guy here, this is more like your simple algebra, and as I said, both approaches are exactly the same on this one here. Whereas this guy here, you're plugging in the value on this side and kind of rearranging to get at that guy. And then this one here is just straight BEDMAS. I think you might have approached it thinking like I was trying to find the rule. So there was confusion with that versus this guy here, just in terms of approach. And I know I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I really should just have 0 or 4 because the grading scheme for your end of year exam is basically all or nothing. And so that's why I tend to mark all or nothing, just because it does make a huge difference if I all of a sudden remove part marks. You're going to notice things drop quite a bit. Yeah. Yeah. Again, I'll post this guy and the video to Teams as well. You can choose to ignore it if you want. Or if you're one of those people that have the lovely 2-hour bus drive home, maybe you can have my wonderfully soothing voice in your ear as earbuds as you. No? No?
Hey, sir, initial value means like one of the points that it gives you is 0.
It means the x is 0.
Yeah, exactly.
So initial value is a phrase that needs to be kind of like known. If I have initial value of 4, what it's telling me is exactly what Bradley just said. 0 is my x value. Okay. If it's saying that I have an initial value of 4 and it passes through points 4 and 12, then what I'm going to do is just say that that's an xy. And initial value is actually my b. This is a huge roadblock for people as well. It's two things. It's a point that I can use, and it's the b of the rule. I'll say that again because it's a huge roadblock for people. Initial value, Bradley. So I want your input. I'll ask for it, buddy. Train of thought's important. You're interrupting it. I need you to stop. Initial value of 4. Okay, you need to know that that's two things. First, that it's a point. X is 0, y is 4. That's what initial value of 4 means. Initial value also tells me that b of my rule is 4. Okay? The b of my rule is 4. So then now I can approach this one of two ways. So I'm going to show you both. You tell me what you prefer. Option one is I have this rule. I know that I have a B and I have a point. So I can literally take the 12, the 4, or the x is 4, and the b of 4, and then solve for m. But this one's, I don't know, I find this one a little bit more confusing just because there's a lot of rearranging going on. So I'd be bringing that guy over. 8 is equal to m times 4 divided by 4 divided by 4. M is equal to 2. I'll show you what to do when we get this kind of on our, get this all together. I would almost prefer, and I think a lot of you did this, was option 2. If you know that initial value is this point right here, and I know that 4 and 12 is a point I have as well, I'm really hoping that this formula, right, comes to mind. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? So I'm just going to label these guys right here, 0 and 4 as x1, y1, and 4 and 12 as x2, y2. It does not matter whether I call that guy x2, y2 or this one x2, y2. What matters is that x1 is paired with y1. Okay? So then now, 12 minus 4, all over 4 minus 0. And I'm going to double check that again to see, was there any negatives? And did I put the right one in first? Okay? Why do I do that? Because I'm prone to stupid mistakes. I'm talking about myself now. Right? And it's just, I don't ever want to see you get yourself in trouble because you're prone to a simple mistake. So then m is 2. So if I rearrange it across the top, I'd have 8. Across the bottom, I'd have 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So what can I now do? I can look at this and say that with a b of 4 and a slope of 2, that my rule is going to be 2x plus 4. And that's all I was looking for. Can you find a rule? So, questions on this guy? No? Okay. Next one here is getting us to just do, dealing with some negatives, some ugly numbers here, but it's asking me to find the rule of a line again. If you forget, I didn't really kind of identify it before, but find the rule of a line. It's telling me to find m and b. That's what it's saying. Find m and then find b.
Wait, sir.
Yeah.
If your x, like when you're labeling your numbers like 20, that's your x, right?
Yeah.
But why is it when you put it in to go subtract it, you always have to put your y's?
Up top?
Yeah.
Oh, so the nature of, like, as in, like, why is it x first here, but then y on top in the formula? Yeah? Because the nature of this is like more like high level stuff, but this axis, whenever I plot things, this axis is the x-axis. They call this one the independent variable, meaning this is the guy that's like kind of dictating what's happening right now. So that's why this one's always time. It's independent in the fact that I can't stop time, I can't control time, but as time goes along, something is either going up or something is going down. Could be water levels dropping over time. Could be water levels rising over time. Time is going to be the independent variable, so time has to be x. So when I start to mark things out, that's why I put x first and then put the y, because you can also plot it in terms of, I want to figure out how much money I make. I'm going to sell beaver tails, right? So as time goes along, my sales will go up. I don't make more money or make more sales unless I sell more. Like actually, that one could be, sorry, the x-axis would be beaver tails sold, y-axis would be money. So this guy has to be the independent one because the money will never go up on its own. The beaver tails have to be sold for the money to go up. So that's why it goes x first, then y. Now then why does it have rise over run? So the rise over run part of it, or sorry, why is it that y is on top in that formula? Because basically what we're asking ourselves when we have like a line is it's legit looking at it. So from a given point, how many down is it compared to how many over? And we always measure it for the y over the x-axis. It's always the rise over top of the run that gives me the ratio. So essentially what it is it's backwards based off of the way that it's like sort of read because of the nature of the way this graph works. And I'm going to have rise over run for this given guy here. So it's really just an application of points on a line, and it's, to be honest, it's kind of made up. Let's be honest. We're making up a way to explain this line. So they could come up with any sort of rules. Like if you look at all these guys over here, this functions, this is the unit I'm on right now, functions of 11SN, and there's a conics one I'm going into next. There's like 3 different forms of this rule. There's 3 different forms of this rule. They're just different ways to interpret them. But like I know them when I see them because I know that they can be viewed in different ways. Someone kind of figured out those guys existed in nature and found a way to explain them. We've found that rise over run is the way to explain what slope is in this case. So that's why I'm going to always have on these guys here, starting with y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So it's really just talking about a relationship, and it's why fractions are so damn important. Because essentially all we're doing is making a fraction every time we're talking about rise over run. What's the relationship of how many up or how many down versus how many over? So then if I call that one x1, y1, x2, y2, then I'm going to go minus 20, and I'm going to go 20 minus 6. So 26 plus 20 over 20 plus 6. Did that make any sense? Kind of? Yeah. It's a that's probably the toughest thing to wrap people's brains around. It's funny, is like once that whole thing like linear crap like makes sense, it kind of clicks, and then it becomes. It is, yeah. It's a absolutely fascinating question. Like that's probably the best question I've had. No, since I've been here, that was really good. Because that's just like your understanding kind of like the nature of everything. Like it's anyway. So 40, did I do that right, Trinity? 46 over 26. I'm just making sure that I didn't screw it up. You're my validator now.
I don't see 46 over 26 anywhere in my work, sir. I do. No, I.
What am I doing here? So 20, 26. Oh, that's why.
32.
See?
Yeah.
26 minus 6. There we go. I was like, something was not up. And then 20 minus 20. There we go. Come on, Trinity. That's on you. I'm just kidding. But if you could be my validator, that would be great. So I don't do stupid stuff like that again. Anyway, so you're going to have on top 32 over 40. Okay? And then that's going to break down to, you can take this and simplify it, or we can turn it into a decimal. Okay? Now, in any of these guys here, remember our goal is let's find M first, then we're going to go ahead and find B. So there's M. I've got that. Now I've got to figure out what this guy is here. It's the same skill set kind of that we've done up there previously, but all I'm going to do now is just plug everything. Let's use a different color. Plug everything into plus B. That formula right there. So I have my M now, and if I have a choice between that point and that point, which one do you think I'd rather use? One on the right. I'd rather avoid the negatives if I can. That's true in life too. No? We're not doing life advice, we're just doing math? Okay. All right. 26. Feel free to ignore me. Okay. So then now I've input this guy here. X went where the X is. Y went where the Y is. The slope I just found gets slotted in here. And then now everything that comes with math, what I want you to know is Our whole goal is to always get something where there's only one unknown. Okay? We only want one unknown. If there's two unknowns, then it's a whole other ballgame. But so from right now, I can rearrange this guy and solve. What's 0.8 times 20?
16.
Thanks, buddy. 16 plus b. Now I can just do my basic algebra stuff. B is equal to 10. The combination of both this guy and this guy is my rule. The combination of both. 0.8x plus 10. Okay? So this guy also has to become kind of second nature for you to kind of get out of this unit / this year. It's a shame that this stuff kind of makes up so much of the exam, and it's so tough, but tis what it is, I guess.
What's your favorite way to express this?
Huh?
What's your favorite way to express this, like algebraic form? Like, do you like using the decimals or fractions?
I prefer fractions, but if it came down to something like this, I'm not going to do the simplification. But I do find my brain works better when I'm like combining fractions or multiplying or dividing. Just, yeah. So what is the slope of a line that's perpendicular? So a bunch of people get frozen on this guy here as well. Totally get it. It's not an easy one, right? Because it's ugly. Okay? So basically what I want you to do is whenever you see something that looks like this, if they're not saying to like find a point as a part of it, I would rearrange this sucker, right? And I would bring everything over to this side that I can except for the y, right? We want to make this guy y equals mx plus b. Because once I have it in this format, and when I mean this format, I mean y all by himself and y being positive. Okay? mx plus b. All I really care about is rearranging it in this form so I can get this guy right here. That's all I care about. Okay?
Get
So-
that sucker, sir.
What?
Get that sucker.
Let's go. So if it's negative 81, we're going to add, oh, jeez. We're going to add 81. If it's positive 2x, we're going to subtract 2x. So what is that going to give me? Negative 3y is equal to negative 2x plus 81. Do I even really care about this 81? No, I don't. Because like it didn't ask me for like the actual rule. It didn't ask me for the y-intercept. It just wants the perpendicular slope. So really at the end of this, if I go, and this is why I like fractions. You ask, why do I prefer fractions? Because I find this easier. I'll be dividing everything by negative 3. But what's my focus? My focus is going to be what's in front of this guy here. Right? Because I want slope. So y is equal to 2 over 3x. And then again, I'm not even going to write it down because I really want you to focus on the fact that when I rearrange this, the total purpose of it was so I can get it in this format where y is all by himself, Brad. 2/3 x. Minus, doesn't matter.
Or negative
Oh my God,
6.
sir, I did it backwards.
Okay? So I'll put that there anyway just to finish it out.
Is it
Because
negative right then?
yep. Well, the 2/3 or the 27?
2/3.
Well, that's a good question. When I brought the 2x over, I would have subtracted 2x, so it was negative. This is a negative 3y, so when I have a negative divided by a negative, that lands me with the positive value.
I just have a question about how I got marked on one of these questions.
Okay, once I finish up this guy here, I'll pause and go around.
All right, sir.
So last but not least, it says, what is the slope of a line that is perpendicular to this guy right here? Well, the slope I had was 2/3. I'm hoping we're all experts now at taking it and flipping and switching it. That would be the final answer. This is why I like fractions. Because if you had if you had positive 0.666, you'd have to go -1 divided by 0.66666 to get it. Not that it's wrong, totally works. Some of you do it, that's great. But I'm going to stop sharing this guy because this is page 1.